Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, today we are talking about the Miata again. It's been a while since I've done anything to this car, and a few days ago I was coming home from work and I pulled into the driveway just to get to the exact number on my odometer of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I thought this was pretty funny. So I was taking photos of this and I realized that my water temp level, my engine temp, was a little high. Not to the overheating level, but a little bit higher than it should be. A few months back I replaced the thermostat, more than a few months, but a year ago. And it's been running great. And the temperature gauge on this car is always pegged at the exact same spot all the time, no matter what. And when it's not there, something's off. So I popped the hood, look, and my radiator is leaking. A small leak right about here. There's a little crack that runs right there. And it was bubbling out. You can see that there's radiator fluid all around. And the top of the radiator is quite brown. So it is time for a new one. Now I had a tiny itty bitty pinhole before and I didn't want to push it, so I already purchased a radiator. So I've had a radiator for a little bit. But now this is cracked open and it's time to replace this thing. So anyway, wanted to show this. We'll do an unboxing here. I got the Megan Racing all aluminum radiator. Now I haven't seen much for these on the Miatas online. I've seen a few unboxings, which is what I'm going to do right now. But I haven't seen anybody install one or see reviews on YouTube so far. I've seen a few written reviews and I've read a lot of reviews on these radiators for other cars that were good reviews. So I'm hoping this is a decent product. We'll see. It's not a crazy awesome radiator. It should be better than the original, but it's not like super fancy. It is all aluminum. I'm opening the box now, and let's see here, a bunch of bubble wrap. Try to slide this out. Here we go. Make sure there's no damage to this thing. A lot of bubble wrap. Looks well packaged. And here we go. So you see they've got their fancy logo on there. And it looks thicker than the stock radiator, and it is all aluminum. It's supposed to be a direct bolt-in replacement, and I'm going to be putting this in the car. Get a little closer so you guys can see it. It's, at first glance, appears well built. The welds are nice. They've got the little nice overlaps on the aluminum welding, so that looks pretty good. Let's see spots that look like poor welding. Now, the one thing that I can say is that if you have an automatic Miata, this radiator might have issue fitting, because there are, on the automatic version, there are two inlets, an inlet and outlet, I should say, on those versions for the automatic transmission, which the manual transmission does not have. So this doesn't have those. So if you're looking for a radiator for an automatic version of one of these cars, and I have a 2001 NB Miata. I've had it for a very long time. Love this car. But if you are looking for an automatic version, I wouldn't get one of these. Maybe you could mod this. I really have no idea. So looks like I just noticed it came with a cap, which is kind of nice. It's got its own radiator cap, nice and clean. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do an install here and get it going. I also wanted to mention that I did pick up some new hoses. These are just standard, the rubber hoses. They're not the fancy silicone hoses. They're made, this one's Continental, which I'm assuming is probably gonna be pretty good. Continental makes bike tires, and they make really good bike tires. So at least the ones I've used were really good for a long time. So I'm assuming this is probably a good one. This one is made by Daco, which is probably, it's like the AutoZone special, but construction-wise, almost identical. You can barely tell them apart. So I'm sure it's gonna be fine. But put these in as well. So I figure if I'm going through the trouble, may as well replace the hoses too. All right, the car is up on jack stands, as you can see here. Hey, cat. Jack stands, car is elevated. Basically, I'm going to pull out this this intake tube here, just to make room. I'm going to unhook the reservoir tube that goes to the coolant reservoir, and I'm going to unbolt these, and I'm going to detach the connectors for the fans. And this connector is actually on the fan right here, and this connector for the AC fan is over here. You can disconnect all this stuff, pull off the hose, and on the bottom I have to come underneath. I've got to take this dumb thing off so I can access everything. I think these are just 10mm bolts here. I'm going to pull this panel off. I'm going to disconnect the AC tubing, which I'll get another video of in a minute. There's 2 lines that run, and they just mount to the radiator. They're not technically connected to the radiator except for just a support point. So I disconnect those and disconnect the lower radiator tube, and then radiator hose, and then unbolt these bolts here, which on my car are 14mm. I have seen multiple different sizes of these on different cars. Some people have 12, some people have 13, mine are 14. I started to loosen them, so you can see you can turn them a little bit already by hand. So that should make it go quick. Pull the radiator out, swap the fans, and hopefully the new one will fit in without much hitch, but we'll find out here in a moment. All right, just took that thing out, a whole bunch of nuts and bolts to hold it in. Now we have access all under here. Yeah, you can see some broken plastic. The part of the AC that bolts on is, let's see, where is that? It might actually be different on my car because here's the AC cooler in the front, so it might actually not even attach on the 2001. I'm not sure. I don't see the attachment point that everybody else was talking about. So here's the AC lines here, and I don't see any attachment points on this one. Look at that. So maybe everybody else had an older model. So basically, to drain the radiator, we're going to undo this. This is the drain plug here, and you just need a big Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to let that sucker out. There is some kind of like really rotten foam padding up against the radiator in between this line here, which I believe is one of the AC lines. And then the AC cooler has its own heat sink thing here in the front, so that's interesting. Yeah, like I said, all the videos I've seen, these lines here, right here, actually bolted here to the radiator. But it doesn't look like they do in this one, so maybe I can just lift this out once I unhook this. So let's get this sucker drained. Now we're gonna undo this guy. We can just, this is a 10mm, so, you know, ratchet or screwdriver, whichever, should work fine. Bye. Screwdriver retrieved. That was super cool, but this should be loose enough. So basically we're gonna pull this thing out. Should I connect this here? I'm gonna disconnect this up here. You know what? I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna move it just like that. I'm not even gonna disconnect everything. Leave it right there. So now we have really nice access. It looks like a little bit of leakage here around my thermostat too. See that? Might be a good idea for me to replace that seal on my thermostat. Interesting. All right, so I am actually going to use this big garbage can to catch the radiator fluid because I had one of this, like a small catch pan for it, but there's a bunch of cats around here and my pan is open on the top and I do not want them to drink this. So I think if I can get it closer to the top here, the chances of them getting into this are greatly reduced. I do not want them to drink this fluid, so I'm going to open this up and put the camera down. It's going to be terribly exciting. I'm going to try to get this under here as close as possible so I can just pull this in. Maybe do this at an angle here. There we go. Can I do this by hand? Get the rest. Yep, there we go. Okay, radiator fluid starting to drain. Here's our plug. I'm going to open this. Now it's really going quick. It is just pouring out here. Pretty cool. So we'll get that emptied out. Don't let the cats get into this shit at all, so I gotta watch them for a second, make sure they don't get in the air. So basically I'm just using a pair of pliers here. Wiggle this loose. Probably easier if I had both hands free instead of holding a camera with one. Almost there. No. It's moving, it's moving. You guys get the point. Anyway, I'm gonna take my hand free here and get this thing moved. And basically you just pinch this and it will loosen up. And it's starting to drip now, so come on. So much fun. One-handed action. Let's see if it works better now. There we go. Come on. All right. It is free. I think it's past the point of the radiator. Ugh. See if I can wiggle this loose. It looks like that's not going to be a problem at all. There we go. Make sure we got the bucket here to catch some of the rest. Gross. And then we got to do the same thing up at the top. We replace this hose. But let's leave it in place for now. Make sure that when we swap everything, we route it correctly. Now, on the ground, I'm taking some Windex. I'm going to spray it on any of this fluid that got down here because I don't want any of these crazy cats I got around here to be licking this stuff. So I'm going to try to make it as unappealing as possible. Now, I don't know if cats like this, but apparently dogs love radiator fluid, and it's very, very bad for them to drink it, like fatally bad. So I want to make sure that it's not dripping on the ground. So everything's dripping out here. Now I'll go up here and we're going to do the same with this one. All right, top hose, get the clamp out of the way, and there it is, loose. Looks totally dry in there. That's pretty crazy. That's very dry in there. It has been sitting for a little bit. We'll get this one loosened up as well. Get it out of the way. We're going to make sure to reuse these and twist this up so it's not in the way here. And we'll get these things loosened up. So I'm going to loosen these first. Like I said, I started them earlier. They weren't very hard to get undone. However, I have seen some people online really have to struggle with these to get them loose. So this one has this is my left one, and it has the clip for the hood rod, whatever you call that, the little stick that holds the hood up. Take this off. Boom, boom. Now we do have to undo the fan still. This one looks like the fan is hooked up directly to the fan itself. Some of them look like they had a clip over here somewhere, but this one does not look like it works that way. So try to get this sucker loosened up. There we go, real easy. I just got to get these little clips off of here. Get some needle nose pliers. I'll get these undone. Basically, there's just two of these guys to come off. And then this one over here is a little plug in the bottom. Can I get it undone with one hand? Maybe not. All right, I'm coming back because that was actually easier than I thought. I actually was trying to push this down and you just lift this up. I thought this tab was attached to this part, so basically you lift this up and it comes out, and it was very easy. We want to undo this hose here, if I can get it off. Excitement galore. And this goes to our reservoir here. And this, again, we have to get these unhooked, so I'm going to get some needle nose and clip those down and undo them. Alright, so this guy popped out real easy with a set of needle nose. This one was not quite as easy, but it came out. Now I think we are totally disconnected here. And we are. The radiator is free from the car. Duh. So now we basically need to swap out the fans and make sure that they fit the other radiator. So let's give that a go. So I've got all this out. I'm going to go ahead and swap in the new radiator hoses, which basically is just taking these clamps off this old one, putting them on the new ones, reinstalling. It looks like I'm going to have to check this guy out because it looks like this is leaking a little tiny bit on the thermostat. I don't see anything fresh, but I don't know. That's not a good sign. Subtle, but something to check out. And to get down to that radiator hose, which is down there, I'm probably going to have to take out my air filter box here, which I think is just a bolt here and maybe one in the back, and this should just lift up. And then I can get down to that hose and stick in that new radiator hose to the bottom. All right, the air box is completely detached now. This piece comes out separate. This is just a 10mm bolt to hold this in place. And then this has two 12mm, a nut on this side and a bolt on this side. And I am just going to rotate this out of the way for now, gently, like that. I'm going to clean up some dirt under here while I'm at it, but now I can get to the radiator hose, which is right here. So we'll try to pull that sucker off. Grab these, that's what we're looking for. And hop in here. One-handed again, so I can video at the same time. And wiggle the clamp loose. Come on, come on, almost there. Almost there. So close. Of course, I gotta punch everything metal when my hand slips. Almost there. This hose is very puffy, so probably good that it's getting replaced. That should be enough. Now, let's see here if I can wiggle this one loose. I might need to actually cut this one with a razor. That's much easier. All right, new hose is now attached to the lower. The upper is attached up there, but not clamped. This clamp is on. I'm gonna put the air box back in place. And then we're gonna transfer all that stuff over there, the fans, onto the new radiator. Okay, so now it is time to swap the fans over to the new radiator. This one is actually goes this way. There we go. That is the accurate way to do it. And we can see that this radiator, you see how thin this radiator is, basically here to here, versus this one. This is apparently a dual layer, so this should carry a lot more volume in antifreeze, water, coolant, etc. So should be a better, cooler radiator if it holds up well. We'll find out. But anyway, I'm going to start swapping these over. I believe these are just 10mm. That's what they look like, and they are, so should be pretty quick. I'll come back to that. I'm going to wipe these down and everything and before I put them on here. So one thing to note here is that the fans, this is the regular radiator fan, and this is the fan that comes on with the air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning in your Miata, it shouldn't have this fan. But you don't need to worry about mixing them up because they are slightly different. So you can see the regular radiator fan has these pins at the end and the two 10mm bolts at the top, whereas the air conditioner fan has 10mm bolts all the way around, which, you know, makes it very easy to see where everything goes. So that's a kind of nice thing that I wasn't expecting to see. But anyway, just a note. Also, don't forget to take off these rubber bushings on the top, or sorry, the bottom and the top, and transfer them over to this new radiator, because that could be not a good. You're gonna want those in there for sure. So yeah, those are coming off. Oh yeah, you can see this. Fans are now installed. They went in really nicely. The fit was very, very good. Happy with that. So, so far so good. It is thicker, so I'm hoping that everything slides back in the car without a hitch. We'll find out soon. Another thing is we want to check this plug because this sucker is not tight. It's got a little O-ring on it. That's good to see. So not tight at all. I can just loosen it with my hands. So not sure what size this is. It's pretty big. Maybe like a 19 millimeter. Don't know. Gonna sort of snug it and then give it a good crank here. It's aluminum, so I don't want to overdo it, but that feels pretty good. And I'll check it again after I get it all installed, but make sure you check that because this one was very loose. Okay, moment of truth. See if this thing truly will drop in like it's supposed to. I'm already banging it into stuff here, which I don't want to do. Out of the way. And let's see, is it seating? Okay. And that side looks like it's in. This side does not. There it goes. Is that it? Okay, but is it straight? Very close. Getting some power steering lines are just slightly off here. Not bad. Just a little bit. Check again. Like this side is just a tiny little bit tight. And I'm running into the power steering lines. That's what it looks like. Okay, so where the power steering lines are hitting the shroud, I'm actually going to cut a little corner out of the shroud at the bottom. It shouldn't hurt anything, but what it's hitting is not the radiator, but the actual plastic shroud for this fan down in the bottom corner. So I'm going to just chop a little piece out there. I think that'll do the trick. I'm actually going to take this all the way off for a moment. We'll come back to this. To make it a little easier. Pull this back out gently. You can see I caught it on the way in. Alright, you can see I marked a little piece here. This is the corner of the fan shroud that is catching. So I'm going to cut that away, and that should give me the room that I need in that area. So should I take this off of the radiator? Probably. Almost there. Lift it up a tiny bit. Try not to damage anything. Make sure I'm not going to hit anything underneath. Almost. There we go. Alright, that little thing should do the trick. Okay, attempt number 2. Try real careful. Get this sucker down in there. That actually feels like it's seated really nice. Let me check underneath. Alright, we are. There we go. That did the trick. I just had to remove that little corner of the fan shroud, which really doesn't do anything. So that's good. Let me just see how these guys line up. If I can get these on without causing anything crazy to happen here. So it looks like we are good. Now this side is in the hole. It's just not quite squished down all the way. I think just the rubber bushing is just a little snug. But I think it'll seat itself once I screw this down. But that looks like it's gonna work real nice. So I think we are good there. I'm gonna clean these guys off before I attach them, because this piece actually goes down underneath here and runs over. So I don't want to put these on yet. I just wanted to check them out. But I'm gonna wash these off, get these attached. So I am going to plug these fans back in, get everything hooked back up, put these fan tabs kind of back where they're supposed to go, and then the AC fan back up over here. Those are all connected. Put in the mounts, which I hit the mounts with a little bit of black spray paint so that they would just look a little bit better, newer. And this hose here rides back to the inlet here. This is from the coolant overflow. And that kind of sits in these little tabs here, which are welded onto this radiator. It's quite nice. I like that. And then this tab goes over this hose. See? Makes this hose almost feel like it's going to kink. It's not quite, but it's kind of close. So I'm actually going to run it off of here. I think that's going to be okay. And then this is our clip for the hood mount, which goes there. And I'm going to throw the 14mm nuts back on these guys. One thing I did have to do, another mod, is I had to cut this hose a tiny bit shorter on the end by the radiator because it was overly tight. So it was basically I cut off about this much, which is probably about a ½ inch, and it was because it was starting to kink right here. It's still maybe a little too much curve right there. I could probably cut a little bit more, maybe another ¼ inch, maybe even another ½ inch. But as of right now, this seems okay. So unless it's collapsing on me while I drive, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to take the clamps here and get them placed. Alright. I'm getting this sucker put back in place. Hopefully this fits, because now that this is pushed back, this little piece that sticks down collides with the fan shrouds a little bit. Actually, let's see, this is gonna just fit. It is a very, very tight fit now. Hopefully this doesn't collide with the fan blades. I don't think it will, but it's the tolerances are much smaller. So I'm gonna have to pay attention to any little sounds as I get this thing up and going here. So that's on. This fits. It's probably gonna rattle like crazy because it definitely touches the fan shroud a little bit now where it didn't before. Now I could take a little piece of foam. I have a lot of this like really heavy duty foam. I could make a little pad that goes right there to keep it from rattling if I notice it's making a lot of unnecessary noise. So that's all back in place. Okay, so this is where I'm at for the night. It's bolted in. Basically everything up here is put back together. On the bottom, let's go have a look underneath the car. Also, I've got this cool flashlight that basically you can magnet to the thing, and it makes light. It's really cool. On the bottom, the clamp is, I can't get it to slide anymore. I've tried for literally like 20 minutes and I can't get it to slide any more than that. I think the hose is just a hair thick, and the inlet, the little flange on the inlet might be just big enough that this clamp will not open far enough to go over it. I'm gonna give it a couple more shots, maybe put some soap on it or something to see if I can get it to cross over, and then we'll see from there. My one thing that I kind of worry about here is that this hose, which I believe to be part of my air conditioner, hits the radiator right here. Now it hit the old radiator as well, so the plastic original radiator touched this, and you can see this little trace of black stuff. That is some foam that they had on there to kind of buffer it, but this one is really tight up against it. So I worry that with vibration this could either damage my air conditioner or damage the radiator. So I may in a day or two loosen this up and see if I can fabricate some kind of mount for this, just to move this down just a hair. Maybe I can even loosen this and just rotate it just so it's not quite so tight up against the radiator. Radiator is literally resting on this. So that is the one thing that is bad. The sway bar is also extremely close to the fan shrouds, but it is not touching, so I think that's going to be okay. And then right here, you can see this is where I had to cut out that little piece of fan shroud so that these two lines that are running would fit, because it was colliding in this. So I just cut out that little chunk, and that enabled it to fit into place. So that's where it's at right now. All right, clamp is in place. A little good old dish soap helped me along. And now let's grab this flashlight and add some fluids to this sucker. Like I said, it comes with its own cap. It's kind of cool. Wonder if it's the same size as the old Miata cap. I don't know. It looks similar. I'll save that just in case. My cool funnel made out of an old Pepsi bottle. So I've got some Prestone antifreeze. Is this the best stuff? I don't know. Put a little bit of this in. And I'll add some water. I'll just go a little bit at a time on both, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not doing a scientific blend here, but let's see what we got. This is distilled water. Got a lot of this. Now, I prefer to have more water than antifreeze. Just juggling it up. Look at that. Antifreeze, I'll go slow. Do you get it? It's going down slowly. Squeeze the hoses. Get some bubbles out. Might have got it. We might have filled it. Might have filled it up. Look at that. Alright, so I've started the car, and I'm going to let it run for a few minutes and get up the heat, get up the temp. And as it does, the water should drop a little bit here. It already went down just when I started, a blip. So as it runs and the temperature comes up, it should start cycling the bubbles through, and I'll top this sucker off, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Alright, the car's been running for a few minutes, and it just went down a tad bit. It's done this twice now, and I've added a little bit of fluid, and I'm going to keep doing this for a few more minutes. I also made sure to turn on my heater to be sure that the heater tubes flush out. And we'll see here, I'm waiting for some of the older color antifreeze to start coming up in here. We'll see. I'm going to add some more here. So the car's been running for about 10 minutes now, and my gauge here is actually slightly lower than it normally is. I don't know if that has anything to do with the radiator or if it just is just taking that much longer to warm up while it's just idling. But there's my fancy mileage that I got to the other day. Let's check that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was highly amused by that. But anyway, that's how I discovered my radiator was messed up. I got a couple bubbles coming to the surface pretty slowly, but every once in a while I'll get a little blip. Maybe there's one coming now. Blip. There we go. And just letting it go for a few more minutes. Keep topping it off. But anyway, that's a trick. Alright, the bubbles seem to have stopped, so I've turned the car off. And I am going to place my radiator cap here. There we go. Bonk. And that should be it. Looks fancy. Fancier than the rest of my engine, that's for sure. I think it's a nice touch. We'll see how it does. Okay, it's been running 20 minutes. The thermostat is pegged in place. Now I know some people say Miata thermostats don't work, but this one, anytime it's been hot, that thing will go toward the hot like it's supposed to. So I don't know if that's a thing with the older models or not, but this one seems to be holding steady right here. This is actually, again, slightly lower than where it is normally. It's usually still to the left of the little center point, but slightly higher than this. Again, 20 minutes, it's been running, and seeming good. All right, getting ready for our test drive with the new radiator. It's been a couple days because I've had to work. Still warming up, but that's where the temperature's at right now. Look at that mileage, still on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mileage, because that's funny. Won't be for long. I'm gonna go do a loop and just make sure nothing blows up. All right, we're 10 miles from the house, and it looks like this out here. This is an amazing road, but there's this big dump truck ahead of us, so I can't go that fast. However, my temperature is staying totally pegged at its normal spot, which is good. 10 miles. I'm gonna be going up this mountain here in a minute, so if there's any fluctuation, I'll let you guys know. This road is awesome. All right, I'm pulling off to the side here. Look at our awesome view. I just drove up the mountain. It's about as hard as I felt like I was comfortable pushing it, and temperature is good. So we are 18 miles out from my house, uphill for the last like 8 miles, like pretty good solid uphill, and I think it's working pretty nice, so I'm excited. That seems good. All right, there it is. There's the view. We are up here. Just to give you an idea how high up we came. There's the dam down there. We're driving uphill this whole way. Temperature was great. Okay, so that concludes the radiator journey. Again, I'm 18 miles out into a drive, pretty hard drive uphill. Seems like it's working fine. Had no weird blips or anything. Obviously, if I have something weird happen, I will make another video about it, but I think we're good to go. So that was my radiator install. I do have brakes on the way too. So brake rotors, new pads, and steel braided brake lines, which I will install. Maybe I should do a video on that as well. This isn't a car channel, guys, so if you came here and found this, I don't typically do car stuff, but may as well make some content while I'm doing a thing, right? So anyway, thanks for stopping by. I will see you kids soon. Bye! I was going to end the video up at the top of the mountain, but I've driven home. I put on almost 40 miles, just a little shy of 40 miles, 37 miles. And the temperature is looking good. All right, guys, I'm excited. Just figured I'd show. All right, bye. I just drove over 320 miles on the new radiator, and still looking beautiful. So, so far so good. I think that's a good sign. It did some hard driving, over 5,000 feet of elevation gain twice. So, yeah, put it through the paces, and it seemed to hold up just fine. So, I feel pretty good about it. I'll let you know if anything changes. Okay, bye. Again, later, bye.